This is my pool plans for DFFOO global version of the game for early October 2021. And this video will be covering banners and events where Zidane will feature as a synergy unit. You can refer to which events these are by looking at the cropped infographic on the left hand side of the screen, which was derived from Jakematt's global forecast. So before heading into the pool plans, just some quick disclaimers. This is really a very personalized pool plan based on my preferences and playstyle. While I will try to share my thought process on why I make certain decisions whether to pull or skip certain characters, it may or may not be ideal for you because there's always multiple factors to be considered when planning to spend your gems and tickets. Some of these factors include obviously your amount of gems and tickets that you have available, what roles that you currently miss in your roster and need to fulfill, of course what your playstyle and preferences are, and there's always multiple ways and approaches to defeating Lufenia and the upcoming Lufenia Plus stages, so by no means there's only one approach to the game and one approach to pool. There's actually multiple ways that you can take and still enjoy the game. And of course, who your favorite Final Fantasy characters are. So before heading into the actual banners, I just want to do a very quick recap on Aphmau. She was actually released earlier than the JP side of the game, and she was featured alongside Vivi and Deuce in the final event in XDev's arc, which is Act 3 Chapter 4.2. This was a very pleasant surprise. I was initially planning to skip the banner, but since Aphmau was released here, I actually went ahead and spent tickets for her. So in total, I used up almost my entire ticket reserve. I started with a few hundred tickets and it took me that much to score her LD. But I think it's a very good pickup. Aphmau is a very strong support aura character, and something that differentiates her versus other current supports in the game is number one, she has valuable debuff immunity. And while there are some other characters that do provide debuff immunity such as Ignis and Lena, it is still a relatively uncommon trait to have. But really the other thing that makes her so attractive is that she also now features somewhat of a turn manipulation in her LD. So the way her LD functions is that each time she takes a turn, as long as the LD buff is up on one ally, that ally will act immediately after her, and this really opens up the potential for quite a number of combos that I am very interested in exploring. So for that reason, I think she's a good pickup, and I hope to be using her in the near future as well. I did use her very recently in the Chaos Challenge in the fight versus the Tantarian boss. And there it was a very good combo because I paired her with Vivi, and the two of them alternated the turns while Xdev's BT Poison ticked the enemy's HP down. So I think that is a very good example of how you can fully maximize the use of her turn manipulation. Coming to the first event in Zidane's arc, we have Divine Pandemonium, which is very welcome because I'm running extremely low on tickets. I think I'm down to about 100 or so tickets remaining, and I will be planning to use tickets to pull for Zidane's LD, so I will probably farm the Divine boards first and use the tickets I get for pulling for Zidane. Zidane comes back with a rework as well as his newly released LDBT, and he becomes a fairly strong damage dealer with the added utility of turn deletion each time he breaks an enemy. Turn deletion itself is very powerful. It's not unique because Lion and Ultima Self with her burst aura can also do turn deletion, and if you've tried it before, you'll know how powerful turn deletion can be if used appropriately. You can really bypass a lot of the Lufenia mechanics so long as all the mechanics or moves are tied to the boss's turns. On the second banner, we have Y'shtola returning. Y'shtola will receive a rework, but her LDBT is not new, it's a rerun. Having said that, she becomes a very strong support character, especially now that we are entering into the Burst Plus era. Beyond Y'shtola, Beatrix and Rinoa's LD returns, and this time both of them will receive the unlocking of their LD bots, bringing them a bit more up to par in today's meta. And lastly, on the two banners, we have Realm and Scion up to their EX. And needless to say, their kits are rather outdated today. You should really be aiming for LD characters when you're attempting Lufenia or Lufenia Plus stages. So overall, I think either Zidane or Y'shtola is a great pickup, and depending on whether you want to invest more on a damage character or a support character as your first PT plus, that's really a personal choice. For myself, I'm aiming more for Zidane, mainly because for support, I'm actually hoping to fully realize Bartz, which is coming up in the next arc after this, in Ace's arc. So there's actually a few choices that you can approach here. For DPS, if you don't want to blue Zidane, if you don't want to green Zidane, sorry, then another choice would be to save your BT plus ingots for Ace, which is also a very strong DPS character. And as for support, Y'shtola is actually a very solid choice, but otherwise Bartz is also a very popular pick for BT plus ingots coming up. So pros and cons, it's really a personal choice, and regardless of any of the four that you go for, as long as you will be using them, they will actually serve you very well. Next up after that, we have Guy's Lost Chapters, featuring the return of Guy with his LD. Nothing is new for Guy here. He's previously received his LD and LD boards, so if you've missed him before, you can pick him up here. On this event and banner though, Sync will return with a rework and a newly released LD, so really she is the main prize of this banner. I'm still sort of deciding on this, to be honest, but I'm sort of leaning more towards pulling, mainly because I skipped Guy on the first time around. So pulling on this banner has a lot of value for me. I can aim to get both Guy and Sync's gear. The price for me will obviously be Sync's LD, and I will stop once I get her LD regardless of what other gear I score for Guy. I sort of view him as a consolation prize that I would like to get, but I will not go out of my way for on my way to pull for Sync. So overall, I think Sync is really quite good. The only reason why I'm still sort of debating with myself on whether to pull or save is I really have quite a lot of strong damage dealers. Of course, by this time Zidane would be another great option, and we have Ace coming up next as well. So really, I don't see a very big need for Sync. But having said that, like I said, it's a very value banner for me, and scoring gear for Guy and Sync would make the Chaos Challenge quest significantly easier as well. Alright, the final event in Zidane's arc is a very hyped event because it features the release of Sid Reigns. And Sid Reigns is very hyped because he is a very powerful character who can dish out a lot of damage. In a way similar to how Tifa was hyped back in the day. For Sid Reigns though, a lot of his damage comes from chase mechanics, because during chase he actually initiates an extra few hits at the end, which deals up a lot of extra damage, and he's really quite strong in the damage dealing department, to the point that he's used, I believe, even up till this day in the JP side of the game. So he is a very strong pickup if you need a good damage dealer and launcher. In particular, if you did pull for Aphmau and Sid makes a very good combo, where she will be able to grant him additional turns with her LD turn manipulation mechanics. So for me, it's a no-brainer. I will be spending gems on this banner as well, aiming just for Sid Reigns. I did pull for Mok before, so I already have all of Mok's gear on this event, and at least since I'm going for gems on the previous banner and this banner, it really maximizes my chances of pulling for Zidane's burst weapon along the way, or at least that's what I hope. So there's actually quite a lot of good characters coming up, and on this part of the video I will be sort of putting them together to see how I will rate each of these characters. If you have limited resources, obviously you will not be able to pull for all of them, and it can be a very difficult decision to make on who to chase for and who to skip. So hopefully this will give you a little bit more of a better idea. Do take note that this is a very biased video based on opinion, and different players may have different opinions here. Overall, it's always a good idea to focus on roles that will fill gaps in your roster. So if you feel a certain character will fulfill gaps in your roster because you don't have many characters that fulfill the same role, then probably it is a good idea to prioritize that character a little bit more. So going into it, in terms of good value, the characters that I place here I believe will provide you good value for your investment regardless of what other characters you already have in your roster, mainly due to how powerful they are in the current meta. The character that leads here is really Zidane, and I think it's a very good idea to pull for him, mainly due to how much easier he will make Lufenia Plus with his sheer amount of DPS. Coming after that, I put Zidane and Y'shtola here, but really I don't mean that you should be pulling on both of them, because during the start of the BT plus aura, you will have limited BT ingots to spend. The idea here is to take a pick between whether or not you want to invest in either Zidane or Y'shtola, and then invest your ingots accordingly. Do take note that after this, as I mentioned earlier, we will have other powerful characters coming up as well, with Ace in the next arc receiving his LDBT, and with Bartz as well having his BT plus unlocked. So there are other good options coming up, and really due to how scarce BT ingots are, it's a good idea to plan very carefully on who you want to spend your ingots on initially. For myself personally, I'm sort of aiming more towards Zidane, even though I already have all of Y'shtola's gear, and that's mainly because I feel very comfortable with having, say, Yuna and Aphmau as support characters, and I am also planning on investing BT ingots in Bartz coming up as well, because I really do like his Wind Enchant and Imperil tied to his BT. So for this arc, I am probably going to invest more in Zidane, but having said that, this is really because I value him more as a DPS. If you feel the other way around, that you really prefer to invest more in support characters, Y'shtola is a rather solid choice as well. In terms of role fulfillment, the characters that I place inside here are characters that are good, but can be skipped if you feel comfortable with having other characters that can fulfill the same role. So here I place only Sync. She is actually very strong, and I am pulling for her, but I feel, compared to maybe Zidane, Zidane or Y'shtola, if you have spent your resources on those three and you run out of resources or would like to save your resources, having Zidane, Zidane and Y'shtola, or Zidane or Y'shtola, would serve your needs very well already in the early Lufenia Plus era. Coming to the consolation prize of the slide, the characters here are by no means bad. In fact, they are usable in Lufenia and even Lufenia Plus. The only reason why I put them here is because you obviously will not have enough resources to pull on every single character unless you spend a lot of money in this game. And if you have to choose certain characters to skip, the characters under consolation prizes will probably fit the bill, mainly because there are by now other characters who can provide the same utility or even better utility than them. So it's very uncommon that you pick them into your party when you have one of the other characters available. So the 4 LD characters that I placed here are Mog, Guy, Beatrix and Rinoa. And really, to me at this point, I view them as good prizes to have if you manage to pull them along the way, but again, not something that I will want to aim specifically for. When I pull on these banners, I am aiming for one of the other characters in the other two categories. In summary, overall, I will be pulling on every single banner in Zidane's arc, mainly using tickets for Zidane's LD. I will be using gems for Sync's LD and gems for Seed Reigns. Hopefully I score Zidane's BT along the way, but if not, I am strongly considering using my BT tokens for Zidane by the end of the arc. And really, that's it for this pull plan video. I hope it's been somewhat informative and helpful. As always, thanks a lot for watching, and if you enjoy the content, do hit the like and subscribe button. It really helps a lot. Till then, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.